We've got Bernie Ripoll to talk to us today about what he's seen on the ground in Canberra about the Productivity Commission report, what's going on with APRA. Now, Bernie's background is he was former Parliamentary Secretary to the Treasurer. He was the Labor Minister for the Financial Services and Superannuation. He chaired the Ripoll inquiry, and many know him as the father of FOFA. So I think he's highly qualified to talk to us about what the feeling on the street is in Canberra at the moment, and what is perhaps politically feasible and what isn't. Bernie,
thanks, James, and hi everyone. Bernie Ripoll. What concerns me, though, is that we've come to this point in superannuation where there's almost a perfect storm of events. And what that looks like is that you've got a Royal Commission that's into misconduct, and that Royal Commission into misconduct is obviously focusing in a lot on the banks and bank misconduct, but it's also going to turn its attention to superannuation. And while I personally think there's a lot less to see, and I'm hoping that when it's the turn of super funds and elsewhere, that unlike the banks, the misconduct is low level, that it's not systemic, that it's not incentivised, and that it's not at the highest levels.
There must be something driving this. And I think I can understand in some ways where the LNP and the Productivity Commission are coming from. That they want to they want to break a system which they think is too cosy and not necessarily in members' interest. But I'm really interested in hearing on what's the word on the street in Canberra, particularly on the Labor side, in terms of where they see a need for change. Why are they not just saying, oh look, this is ridiculous, this is the most ridiculous thing we've ever heard? What is driving them? What do they want to actually see change about the system?
Sure, well that's a pretty broad question, just in terms of...
I thought we'd start with an easy one.
Yeah, we'll start with an easy one, but look, it's a really broad question. So let me just put it into a couple of compartments to make it digestible. But on the broader change question, I think there is an acceptance that there needs to be some change and some improvement, and it's simply for the reason that the system is now, roughly 25 years old. It is proven to be really good, but needs improvement. And as I said earlier, I wouldn't expect that in 25 years' time it looks exactly the same way as it does today. So that's my starting point. I think there are a number of issues where things in superannuation have become very politicised. That's an obvious statement, but it's a truism.
Yep.
And that's going to vary between government to government as governments come and go and change over time.
Yep.
But right down the middle, somewhere in between all of those things, I think the reason we're having such significant debates, and there's reports and reviews, and Labor, when it was in power, had the Cooper Review, and so it's because I think everybody acknowledges, and certainly people I speak to on the Labor side acknowledge that while we've got a great system, it has got some deficiencies, the low-hanging fruit. So, for example, multiple accounts are a problem, particularly if you're young and or have a low account balance, where you might be paying multiple sets of fees, and if you're unlucky enough that you're not in a top returning fund, you're going backwards effectively, and it has a massive impact on your retirement outcome. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that all of us, and I would expect that those listening in as well, I've got in my mind a best interest scenario, always looking at the individual person that's actually got the funds, it's their money, mm-hmm. and where they're all there to serve them. So I think there are some important principles in play here. So while it is politicised and we may not all solve it, in this term of government or even in the next, I think there needs to be some progressive movement forward, and we've got a range of inquiries, reviews, Productivity Commission and others. Hayne will point to some things, have some findings and make some recommendations. We've still got Jeremy Cooper's review and a range of other things in place, let alone going to the advice space, insurance space, group insurance, how all that works, and the debates to be had there. So the word on the street, if you want to put it in those terms, or certainly the feeling I get, is that change is coming, and everyone should expect that.